Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now June 1st of 2022, and in case you guys missed it, just yesterday was the debut of the Kenobi series, episode 3, of course, that was able to feature more about Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Inquisitors, and even more of the story about Leia and her story as well with Kenobi. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way, guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing that a lot of fans have been very excited about is, of course, what's to come after episode 3 of the Kenobi TV series. Now, just yesterday we did a Things You Did Not Know About the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show, episode 3, well, technically today. But, of course, Deborah Chow and Joby Harold were able to unveil a lot more about that episode, and just recently they were able to give us a little bit of a preview of what to expect for episode 4 of the Kenobi series. That's all set and ready to debut next Wednesday. So on top of all of this, we already know that the Kenobi show is halfway over. Can you believe that? I mean, yeah, it's not all that surprising because it's only 6 episodes. Let's not forget about that. It's only 6 episodes for now, and they're already past 3. So essentially, Deborah Chow and Joby Harold were able to talk more about what to expect in episode 4, and we're going to be jumping into this preview of the next episode for the Kenobi TV series because both Deborah and Joby actually really bring a lot of things up about episode 3 and how it turns into episode 4 and what's gonna happen to characters like Obi-Wan and Darth Vader without actually spoiling anything. They do give us high expectations for the 4th episode, which, by the way, they are labeling as the most important episode of the Kenobi series by far. So, with that being said, alright, so Deborah Chow, the director, recently, of course, both Deborah Chow and writer Joby Harold were able to get involved in an interview where they were able to provide a preview for episode 4 of the Kenobi TV show that is set to debut this Wednesday. Now, Deborah Chow went on to state the following: "If you saw part 3, which we really want to set things up with both Vader and Kenobi's connection and where they are now, what we are about to do in episode 4 is truly going to take fans by surprise. We are, without giving, of course, anything away or any spoilers, setting things up for a big confrontation. A very long-awaited lightsaber duel where the fans will be able to see the strengths and weaknesses of both characters fighting against each other for the first time in over 10 years. The fight that we provided in episode 4 was just a way to set things up for the fans, and that what's about to happen in Kenobi, of course, episode 4 is going to be astronomical to the overall series and how it will define the character for episodes 5 and 6. Now, after, of course, all of this, Joby Harold, the writer, eventually stepped in and stated, "Look, the reason that we want to provide the fans this little preview of the next episode is that we are sure that fans are going to think or jump to conclusions of that fight that you saw between both Kenobi and Vader in episode 3, and that was an actual fight. No, no, no. We are just getting started, and we are very excited for what you're going to see in episode 4. So let me just stop right there for a second. Now, Joby Harold is confirming that the saber duel that you saw, or if you want to even really call it a saber duel per se, basically, that's not considered the first lightsaber duel in the show. It's a confrontation, it's a moment where Kenobi's trying to escape, a couple of clashes, do happen, yes, I understand that, so you could technically call it a saber duel, but in that overall moment, I think that a lot of fans held a lot of criticism for that actual fight, between everything that happened between Vader and Kenobi with the fire, and why Vader couldn't just force pull him through the fire again, or something as simple as that. Some fans were going, out of their way to say that it was very fan-filmy looking at times, and I can understand that. We do know that some of these episodes didn't have as high of a production, and that some of these episodes, believe it or not, had a lot of rewrites and had a lot of moments where they had to refilm elements of it. So I think that there are points in this episode that were rushed. It came off as a little too fast at times and a little bit out of place, but I think that what Deborah Chow and Joby Harold are teasing for episode 4 sounds pretty interesting, because we already know that episode 4 had a big budget that went into the episode, which tells us that this fight that they're setting up is going to be very cinematic. So past this, in this episode, he says, we really wanted to focus more on the Inquisitors as well at the end of Leia's story as well in the Kenobi series, and exactly how that's going to begin to conclude in the show. This upcoming episode is all about Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader, and how Kenobi is going to deal with that. We are going to show fans how Kenobi deals with his wounds that are very much poetic with Vader's wounds in the franchise. We wanted to give Kenobi those burns in episode 3 so that we could explore how Kenobi will feel about Vader's suffering in episode 4, and how this is going to make Kenobi more empathetic towards Vader than ever before instead of harnessing anger. For episode 4, we had Hayden do a lot of work inside the suit. Hayden is going to be amazing in this next episode. He trained for weeks and did tons of rehearsals for this long-awaited scene that we like to call the Battle of the Century. It's this long-awaited scene that we like to call the Battle of the Century for a reason. It's going to be very intense, and who wins or loses is something that I cannot really go into detail right now. But what I will confirm is that whoever does win or lose in this fight, it's only going to create a bigger impact on our final episode for the series. Deborah Chow, the director, then unveiled to the fans. This is the only beginning part for our confrontation between Vader and Kenobi. Episode 4 was probably my favorite episode to work on because it is going to be the most important one of the show, without a doubt. It's something that we took with great care, and how the Inquisitor's story will also expand is going to be very exciting to say the least, she says. So let me just stop right here for 1 second before we move on to the next thing, is that both Deborah Chow and Joby Harold are really making it clear now that that fight that we saw in episode 3 was not the actual first fight, quote-unquote, between Vader and Kenobi. And the reason behind that is, well, they want to set things up for the first fight, is what they're trying to do. Now, sure, Kenobi got a lot of burns in that episode, he had a lot of injuries, and we're going to be able to see exactly how he heals those injuries in episode 4, and how he deals with them, and how it kind of teaches him a lesson about Vader's suffering. It's very interesting storytelling. I will say that in episode 3, though, guys, there were a lot of points where it felt a little out of place, it felt a little weird when it came to the production, or when it came to what Vader was doing, but nonetheless, it was just so exciting to see both Vader and Kenobi see each other again. I just feel that it felt very low budget at times. That's just my own little critique there, is that it felt very low budget in certain shots. I think it was very nice to see Vader's castle again, and especially to finally see, Vader's throne inside the observatory of his castle, which we've never seen before, so that was very exciting to finally witness for the very first time in live action. So, with that being said, guys, I think that what Joby and Deborah are trying to make clear here as well is that both Vader and Kenobi are going to have a dueling out in episode 4, and somebody is going to win or lose. Whoever wins or loses is going to determine exactly what episode 6 is going to turn out to be like, because there is going to be another duel, apparently, in the last chapter or episode, if you will, whatever have you. So, overall, let me know what you guys have to say about what Deborah Chow and Joby Harold had to say about both episode 3 and their preview for episode 4. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Night to moon, we hear them moans again.